Hello and welcome, highly esteemed viewer. With the recent South Park special entering the Pandaverse premiering,
What South Park? Do I own that? No, not yet, sir.
it has finally become somewhat safer to venture into a highly emotionally loaded topic, which has also been very well sheltered, loudly been defended from critique by most media. The corporate performance of Disney as well as its decision making in the recent decade. Today we are going to talk about several issues explaining the company's and its subsidiaries' recent shortcomings, particularly the Marvel's extended universe. Disney, as we all know, is a media and entertainment giant that has been producing top quality content for decades. However, in recent years there has been a significant decline in the quality and popularity of the company's output. One of the prime examples of this is the Marvel Extended Universe, which has been struggling to maintain its former glory. While stock prices keep falling, budgets keep rising, and after many failures to even break even at the box office, its final out of this year, the Marvels has, let's say, underperformed in its probability to break even. We decided to postpone the production of this video to when the first actual stats for the performance of the Marvels can be cited, which saw negative records of various sorts. But what went wrong where? The key reasons for this, naturally, are Disney's poor strategic decisions. For instance, in the past few years, Disney has been releasing far too many movies and shows in a short span of time, compared to when especially the Marvel Cinematic Universe was at its peak profitability. This has led to audience fatigue, with fans becoming disinterested in the franchise due to the lack of innovation and originality, less so than actual superhero fatigue, one might speculate. To give just one very telling and publicly confirmed example, Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror only was chosen as the new main villain of Phase 5 when his performance in Disney Plus exclusive Loki series was well received by audiences. So basically a next phase of your continually now multiversatility and therefore no stakes attached anymore franchise was not even planned out to a level whom the main villain of the new phase was going to be less than 2 years before the phase's first releases. Let's summarize that this level of strategic brand continuity content planning should be considered embarrassing for a company of this size, resources and staff. In Marvel's case, there is evidence to assume that a person-centric approach as well as a problem in business structure could be to blame for the many continuity and consistency errors. There have been several hints as writers and directors like Scott Derrickson and Edgar Wright speaking out that basically all decisions being made in regards to Marvel are being made by its CEO Kevin Feige. Which sounds like a natural thing, yet especially the latter claimed creative differences with him, while one has to realize that however capable a person, one can only communicate so much to so many people in 24 hours of the day. Yet all this was an intentional decision, as Feige, quote, was frustrated about Marvel's lack of control over pre-MCU movies. We suggested, but they didn't listen. We didn't have control. I hated that. Yet now we have strong evidence that information seems not to be properly shared across the people making the films and shows. Organizing in business units like Marvel Cinematic, Marvel Plus or Marvel Earth and Space as working title placeholders, for example, with a creative director mediating stakeholders and executing staff's intentions, while being able to oversee consistency, the recent years might have taken a far more beneficial turn for everyone involved.
Where'd you get that?
A good question. For another time.
Moreover, Disney's push for a diversity and inclusiveness in its films, which is mandatory for credit acquisition by leading banks due to the ESG rules, has also been poorly executed. Instead of creating compelling characters and storylines that happen to be diverse, the company has resorted to ham-fisted attempts at forced representation, which many fans find condescending. This lack of foresight and mismanagement has contributed significantly to the decline in Disney's sales. The staffing of production teams as well as casts led to definitely well-meant, yet just not realistically expectable jumps in outcomes. This, as once more with the Marvels, a very inexperienced director has been hired due to attributes not related to the probability of her ability to handle a several $100 million production, which clearly shows in the final product as critics confirm. Further, it has to be stressed that the director, Nia Da Costa, is not the first, having mentioned exacerbated pressure and interference from the corporate hierarchy, which would be another video of itself, which has been plaguing many major production companies recently. We all share a liking for good stories, probably some need for occasional escapism, and possibly even a certain nostalgia when it comes to Disney or one of its latest acquired IPs. Yet while analysts like us were honestly quite dreading the possible effects of one single corporation, let the colleagues from the Warp Zone elaborate on that shortly, as they have an applaudable depth in their sketches.
See, Bob, what you failed to grasp is that this fight is about more than just the future of streaming. It's about the future of everything. We're not just trying to control the media. We're trying to control how the people consume media. We're grooming the next generation of consumers to get all of their entertainment from us. We will fulfill their every emotional need. Every laugh they bellow, every tear they cry will come from us. And once we've achieved a brand dependency of that magnitude, they will buy whatever we sell them for the rest of their insignificant lives, and that is worth everything. So go on and run back to Silicon Valley and enjoy yourself while you can, Bob. It's only a matter of time before you run out of ideas and your war chest dries up. And finally, when Netflix is little more than a sad, saggy scrotum of a shadow of its former self, we will acquire it. And then we will do the same to Amazon, Warner Brothers, NBC, hell, even YouTube. And on we will go until there is nothing left. Nothing but Disney.
Well, let's say we are some kind of relieved for the foreseeable future. While nostalgia is being tried to be used to lure, the legacy of characters is being eroded massively by deconstructing or dumbing down male heroes to accommodate new female leads. Which could be much more believable and well received if just the women were written actually smarter than the men, instead of unrecognizable character developments like Thor's, who was significantly dumbed down over the course of his latest installments. Further warnings from former Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter that a female-led superhero was a risky move in a male audience-dominated market. The later Bob Iger openly stated he saw the IPs as means to promote messages, which also can be attributed greatly to Kathleen Kennedy's tearing down of IPs as Star Wars. Therefore, not only interpreting a fundamental principle of their market in a fundamentally wrong way, but also forgetting another fundamental principle of marketing, which is that a brand is a promise. And if it is a voluntary process to engage, deception is a fundamentally ill-advised move, as a loss in fans' trust results in incalculable long-term losses. This, as well as further lows like fan baiting, as in showing legacy heroes of the MCU in the latest The Marvels trailers, with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, who is actually being talked of being back from the dead, which is quite telling. Not appearing once in the actual movie is deception on a quite desperate and offending interpretable level. The attempt of more inclusiveness is well meant, yet it would be more original to just create new stories for new characters instead of, which is another major problem, retiring Steve Rogers to expect the Falcon to fill shoes he has never concepted to fill. Basically, especially with the multiverse option, expecting to be able to fill every role with someone else while keeping the emotional attachment one has built with these characters over a decade and following their character arcs. Yet, if you take a male audience domain, which superheroes contrary to video games as recently discussed definitely are, and then force unnatural feeling narratives, lecturing in a space of escapism, and trying to serve a very hard to define and definitely less numerous audience, well. Also, there has been negative cherry picking by focusing on predominantly actual racist comments on, for example, the new Ariel, which has then been used to deflect all criticism of this, former and later movies as either sexist or racist. Which works for a while in regards of social media discussion domination, yet does not change the fact that audiences are being alienated and legitimate concerns over falling quality in storytelling and even special effects have been neglected.
You've got to do better, Senator.
It is a great idea to promote a corporate culture that gives chances, challenges repetitiveness, as well as stereotypes and serves wider audience categories' likings. The all-female helicopter crew in The Last Ship works very well in my estimation, while the tactical usage, spoiler, which leads to the final loss in action, is less. Less do so people who openly declare to despise classics that they are supposed to remake. A recent highly fascinating long-time study by LEGO found that boys' and girls' imaginations and interactions with toys or brands are fundamentally different. As it was basically observed that while boys engaged in a matter with toys and stories, that they integrated themselves into the narrative and basically assumed the character's traits, girls tended to make the toys' narratives bend to their view, which has by some been boiled down to that there are hints that men more relate to the message while women have a stronger focus on the messenger. Even this in this constellation seems to have failed, despite all efforts, as men are the majority of the Marvel cinema guests. The company needs to re-evaluate its approach and take a more long-term strategic view if it is to regain its former glory. In conclusion, Disney needs to learn from its past mistakes and take a more measured approach to producing content. The company needs to listen to its audience, innovate and come up with fresh ideas that will capture the hearts and minds of viewers all over the world. Only then can Disney hope to restore the faith of its fans gradually and get the sales figures back on track. Thank you for your attention. This almost concludes my elaborations.
If your kids are driving you crazy, entrust them to the TV. As long as we have your credit card number, it will automatically renew.
How dare you!